The Great Hall of the Galactic Assembly was the largest structure ever built. It floated in the empty space between 3 star systems, and inside it, representatives from over 2,000 species gathered to discuss the fate of the galaxy. Today, one species had called for a special meeting. The Valkyrie Dominion had something important to say. High Arbiter Zethoran walked to the center platform. His body was made of living crystal, and it glowed with a soft purple light. He was over 300 years old, which was young for his kind, but he had already conquered 12 species and added their worlds to the Dominion. He was proud, powerful, and absolutely certain of his own greatness. Fellow members of the Assembly, he began, his voice echoing through the massive chamber. I come before you today to announce a necessary action. The species known as humanity has refused to pay tribute to the Valkyrie Dominion. They have rejected our rightful claim to the Orion Spur, and when we sent our ambassador to demand their obedience, they laughed at him. A murmur ran through the crowd. Some species looked worried. Others seemed curious. A few, the older ones, simply looked tired. For 12,000 cycles, the Valkyrie have brought order to this galaxy, Zethoran continued. We have crushed the rebellious. We have tamed the wild. 47 species bow before us, and their worlds are peaceful under our rule. Now these humans, these newcomers who have barely learned to travel between stars, dare to challenge us? He raised one crystalline arm high. Let it be known to all, he declared, that the Valkyrie Dominion hereby declares total war upon humanity. We will burn their worlds. We will enslave their children. We will erase their defiance from the stars. This I swear. The Valkyrie delegation cheered. Their allies joined in, eager to please the Dominion. But many in the hall remained silent. In a quiet corner, the Thessari ambassador sat in her hover chair. Her species was ancient, nearly as old as the Valkyrie themselves. Her name was Kethra, and she had lived for over 2,000 years. She had seen many wars. She had seen many proud empires make terrible mistakes. Her young aide leaned close. Ambassador, should we warn them? Kethra watched the Valkyrie celebrate. They were so confident, so certain of victory. She remembered another species that had been this confident, about 400 years ago. They had also declared war on humanity. Their homeworld was now an empty rock, and their name was spoken only in history lessons. We could try, she said softly. But would they listen? Probably not. No, they never do. Kethra closed her many eyes. The Valkyrie see a young species with a small fleet and a few dozen colony worlds. They see creatures who live barely 100 years and fight among themselves constantly. They think this makes humans weak, doesn't it? Kethra opened her eyes and looked at her aide with something like pity. Child, the humans fight among themselves because they love fighting. It is not a weakness. It is practice. She turned back to watch the celebration. The Valkyrie were already making plans, discussing which fleets to send, which worlds to conquer first. They had no idea what they had just done. Far across the galaxy, on the 3rd planet of an ordinary yellow star, the human response was already beginning. Deep beneath the Swiss Alps, in a bunker built to survive the end of the world, the United Terran Defense Council gathered. 12 men and women sat around a long table, watching the recording of Zethoran's speech. When it ended, there was silence. Admiral Helena Vasquez was the first to speak. She was 62 years old, with gray hair cut short and eyes that had seen too many battles. She had commanded human forces in 3 border conflicts and 2 civil actions. She was not easily surprised. Well, she said, picking up her coffee cup, it has been a while since someone made this mistake. General Marcus Chen leaned forward. Do we have confirmation this is real? Not some kind of trick. It's real, said Director Yuki Tanaka of Intelligence. The Valkyrie have already begun moving their fleets. We estimate they will reach our outer colonies within 2 weeks. Fleet strength. They are sending approximately 100 dreadnoughts to start. Each one is roughly 5 times the size of our largest battleship. Some of the council members looked worried. Admiral Vasquez just nodded thoughtfully. And their total military strength. Conservative estimates suggest they have over 100,000 warships. Ground forces numbering in the trillions. Industrial capacity beyond anything we can match. I see. Vasquez set down her coffee cup. And they think this will be easy. They have never lost a war, Director Tanaka confirmed. In 12,000 years, no species has successfully resisted them. Admiral Vasquez smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Then they have never fought humans. She pressed a red button on the console in front of her. Across human space, alarms began to sound. Ships powered up their engines. Soldiers received their orders. Factories switched from peaceful production to something far more deadly. The word went out on every channel. To every human world, to every ship and station and outpost, Condition Prometheus. Ladies and gentlemen, Vasquez said, the Valkyrie have made a serious mistake. They looked at our history and saw a species that nearly destroyed itself. They saw our wars, our conflicts, our endless capacity for violence. And they thought this was weakness. She stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see the mountains, covered in snow, peaceful and quiet. She knew that peace would not last. War was coming. But for the first time in a very long time, humanity would not be fighting itself. They do not understand, she continued, that humans are the most experienced warriors in this galaxy. We have been killing each other for 100,000 years. We have developed weapons that can crack planets. We have studied every form of warfare ever invented. And we have done all of this to ourselves. She turned back to face the council. Now, for the first time, we have an enemy that is not human. An enemy we can fight without guilt or hesitation. The Valkyrie think they are predators, and we are prey. They are wrong. Admiral Vasquez's eyes were hard as stone. We are humanity. We are the species that hunted mammoths with sharp sticks. We are the species that survived ice ages and plagues and nuclear weapons. We are the species that looked at the void between stars and said, we will cross it. She picked up the declaration of war and held it up for all to see. The Valkyrie have given us a gift. They have given us an enemy, and we are going to show them exactly what that means. The council voted unanimously for war, and across the galaxy, the Valkyrie continued their celebrations, completely unaware that they had just made the worst mistake in the history of their species. The humans were coming, and they were not afraid. General Tefmik stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Divine Wrath, and looked at the stars ahead. Somewhere in that darkness was the human colony of Kepler-4 to be, home to 3 million of these strange, soft creatures. Soon, it would belong to the Dominion. Behind him floated 100 dreadnoughts, the pride of the Valkyrie fleet. Each ship was massive, over 10 kilometers long, bristling with weapons that could turn planets into ash. His crews were veterans of a dozen conquests. His soldiers were perfect warriors, grown in vats and trained from birth to kill. This would be easy. General, his sensor officer called out. We are approaching the colony. I am detecting defensive installations. How many? A few orbital platforms. Perhaps 25 small warships. Tefmik almost laughed. 25 ships against 100 dreadnoughts? The humans were either very brave or very stupid. Probably both. Open a channel to the colony, he commanded. I will give them one chance to surrender. The communication screen flickered to life. A human face appeared. It was a woman with dark skin and calm eyes. She wore a military uniform and showed no fear. This is Governor Sarah Okonkwo of Kepler Colony. She said, how can I help you? I am General Tefmik of the Valkyrie Dominion. You have 1 hour to surrender your world. If you refuse, we will destroy your defenses and take it by force. The woman smiled. It was a strange smile, like she knew something he did not. General, I appreciate the offer, but I am afraid we must decline. Then you choose death. No, General. Her smile grew wider. We choose war. The screen went dark. Tefmik snorted. Foolish creatures. They had no idea what was coming. All ships, advance. Destroy the orbital platforms first. Then we will deal with their little fleet. The Valkyrie Armada moved forward like a great wave of destruction. Their weapons powered up, ready to fire. Victory seemed certain. Then the human ships began to move. Tefmik had seen many species fight. He had watched the elegant dance of the Sari cruisers. He had witnessed the brutal charges of Korth destroyers. Every species had its own style of combat, and he knew them all. He had never seen anything like this. The human ships did not fly in formation. They did not advance in orderly lines. Instead, they scattered like insects, moving in sharp, sudden angles that seemed to break the laws of physics. One moment a ship was on his left, the next it was behind him. His targeting systems could not keep up. "What are they doing?" he demanded. "How are they moving like that?" "Unknown, General. Their acceleration is beyond anything in our records." Before he could respond, the humans fired. Tefmek expected energy beams or plasma bolts, the standard weapons of civilized species. What he got was something far more primitive and far more deadly. The humans used kinetic weapons, simple metal projectiles, accelerated to incredible speeds by electromagnetic rails. They were ancient technology, the kind of thing most species abandoned thousands of years ago. But the humans had not abandoned them. They had perfected them. The first volley struck his forward ships like the hammer of an angry god. Metal tore through crystal armor. Reactors exploded. In the space of 10 seconds, 3 dreadnoughts became expanding clouds of debris. Impossible. Tefmek screamed. "Return fire. Destroy them." His ships fired everything they had. Plasma lances, graviton torpedoes, particle beams. The void lit up with deadly energy and hit nothing. The human ships were simply too fast, too unpredictable. They danced between the Valkyrie shots like ghosts, always moving, never stopping. And they kept firing those terrible kinetic weapons, punching holes through ships that had survived 1,000 battles. "General, we have lost 15 ships. General, the burning star is not responding. General, the humans are targeting our engine sections." Tefmek watched in horror as his perfect fleet fell apart. This was not possible. These creatures were supposed to be weak, primitive, easy to crush. They were not supposed to fight like this. Then things got worse. "General," his sensor officer screamed, her voice breaking with fear. "Massive energy signatures from the planet's surface. Something is launching." Tefmek looked at his display. The planet below was lighting up like a festival night. Thousands of points of light were rising from the surface, climbing toward his fleet, missiles. Thousands of missiles. More missiles than he had ever seen in one place that he finally understood. The humans had not been defending their colony. They had been luring him in. The orbital platforms, the small fleet, they were just bait. The real weapons had been waiting on the ground, hidden, patient, ready. This was not a battle. This was a trap. "All ships, emergency retreat." He ordered. "Fall back to." The missiles arrived. The divine wrath shook as explosions ripped through space all around it. Tefmek was thrown to the floor as his ship took hit after hit. Alarms screamed. Lights flickered. Somewhere, he could hear his crew dying. When he finally pulled himself up, he looked at his display and felt his crystal heart crack. Of his 100 dreadnoughts, only 63 remained. 37 ships, hundreds of thousands of warriors, destroyed in less than an hour. And the humans had not lost a single vessel. "General," his communications officer said weakly, "the colony is sending a message." Governor Okonkwo's face appeared on the screen again. Behind her, Tefmek could see humans cheering, celebrating, embracing each other. "General Tefmek," she said, "please tell your masters what happened here today. Tell them that this was just one colony. We have 46 more. Tell them that this was just our local defense force. Our main fleet has not even been deployed yet." She leaned forward, and her eyes were hard as steel. "And tell them that if they want a war with humanity, they will get one. But it will not be the war they expected." The screen went dark. Tefmek ordered his surviving ships to retreat. As they fled into the darkness between stars, he sent a message to High Arbiter Zathoran. He told him everything: the impossible speed of the human ships, the devastating power of their weapons, the trap that had destroyed a third of his fleet. He ended the message with a warning. "These creatures are not what we thought they were. They are not prey. They are predators, just like us. Perhaps worse. I recommend we reconsider this war before it is too late." The High Arbiter's response came 3 hours later. It was short and filled with anger. "Your failure is noted, General. Reinforcements are being sent. You will return and finish what you started. The Dominion does not retreat." Tefmek read the message and felt a cold certainty settle in his chest. They were going to lose this war. He knew it. He could feel it in his ancient bones. But he also knew that no one would listen to him until it was too late and far away. On Earth, Admiral Vasquez received the battle reports and smiled. Phase 1 was complete. The real war was about to begin. 3 months into the war, the Valkyrie Dominion began to learn what they were truly facing. Commander Vethanil had conquered Proxima 3 with ease. The human colony had only a small garrison, and his ground forces had overwhelmed them in 2 days. Now he controlled every city, every spaceport, every communication hub. The 300,000 humans who lived there were under his rule. Victory was complete. Or so he thought. It started small. A supply depot exploded in the middle of the night. Valkyrie soldiers found their food contaminated. A patrol went out and never came back. Just minor problems, easily fixed. Then it got worse. Officers began dying in their sleep, not from violence, but from poison. The humans had somehow gotten into the Dominion's food supply and added substances that killed Valkyrie, but left humans unharmed. Vethanil ordered all food to be tested. The testing equipment was sabotaged. Communication towers fell silent. Power plants went dark. Roads became dangerous, filled with hidden explosives that seemed to appear from nowhere. Every day brought new attacks, new deaths, new frustrations. The humans who lived in the cities smiled and nodded when Valkyrie soldiers walked by. They answered questions politely. They obeyed every order. And at night, they became something else entirely. Vethanil had never heard the term guerrilla warfare before. His species had always fought an open battle, army against army, the honorable way. The idea of civilians becoming soldiers, of enemies hiding among the peaceful, of a war with no front lines and no rules, it was completely foreign to him. It was also completely effective. He requested reinforcements. More soldiers arrived. They died too. He requested orbital bombardment, permission to destroy the cities and everyone in them. High Command denied him. The Dominion needed the colony intact, they said. Just control the population, but he could not control them. He could kill them, yes. He could imprison them, torture them, make examples of them. And none of it worked. For every human he executed, 10 more joined the resistance. For every building he destroyed, the attacks increased. These creatures did not surrender. They did not give up. They fought with knives, with bombs made from household chemicals, with their bare hands if necessary. And they did it with smiles on their faces. One night, Vethanil captured a resistance fighter. She was a young woman, barely an adult by human standards. Her name was Maria, and she had killed 3 Valkyrie officers with a sharpened piece of metal. "Why do you fight?" he demanded. "You cannot win. Your colony is occupied. Your fleet is far away. There is no hope for you." Maria looked at him with eyes that held no fear. "We do not fight because we think we will win," she said. "We fight because fighting is what we do. We fight because giving up is not in our blood. We fight because every day you spend dealing with us is a day you are not attacking our other worlds." She smiled, blood on her teeth. "We are not trying to defeat you here, Commander. We are trying to bleed you. One cut at a time." Vethanil had her executed the next morning. But her words stayed with him. He was beginning to understand. This was not a war the Valkyrie knew how to fight. Far from Proxima 3. The space war was going no better. Admiral Catherine commanded the largest fleet the Dominion had ever assembled. 500 dreadnoughts, 2,000 support ships, enough firepower to crack moons. He was ordered to find the human fleet and destroy it. He never found it. The humans did not have a single fleet. They had dozens of small squadrons scattered across their territory. They did not stand and fight. They struck at supply lines, at fuel depots, at repair stations. They appeared from nowhere, fired their terrible kinetic weapons, and disappeared before the Dominion could respond. Catherine chased them across 3-star systems. Every time he thought he had them cornered, they slipped away. Every time he stopped to resupply, he found his support ships in flames. His soldiers were exhausted. Valkyrie warriors needed 8 hours of rest every cycle, a biological requirement that could not be ignored. But the humans seemed to need no rest at all. They attacked at all hours, in random patterns that made no sense. They used strange chemicals to stay awake for days at a time. They fought in shifts, always keeping pressure on the Dominion, never giving them a moment of peace. "They are insane," Catherine told High Command. They do not fight like a rational species. They do not seek victory. They seek only to cause damage. They are willing to sacrifice ships, soldiers, entire colonies, just to hurt us. High Command told him to try harder. Then the human counterattack began. Admiral Vasquez had been waiting for this moment. For 3 months, she had let the Valkyrie overextend themselves, chase shadows, waste resources on occupation duty. Now she struck. The first target was the Dominion's main shipyard at Valkyrie Prime. A fleet of 200 human ships appeared without warning, destroyed the orbital defenses, and launched a bombardment that turned the shipyard into melted slag. They were gone before the Dominion could respond. The second target was the fuel processing stations in the Korth system. The third was the communication relay network. The fourth was the food production facilities that fed the Dominion's armies. The humans were not trying to conquer territory. They were trying to destroy the Dominion's ability to fight, and it was working. Back on the Valkyrie homeworld, High Arbiter Zathoran refused to believe the reports. Surely his generals were exaggerating. Surely the humans could not be this effective. They were primitive creatures with short lives and fragile bodies. They could not possibly be winning, but the numbers did not lie down in 3 months. The Dominion had conquered 17 human colony worlds. They had lost over 300 warships, 40 supply depots, 6 shipyards, and countless soldiers. The humans had lost territory, yes, but they had not lost their capacity to fight. If anything, they were getting stronger. Every ship the Dominion destroyed, the humans seemed to replace with 2 more. Hidden factories and asteroid fields began producing weapons. Reserve fleets emerged from hidden bases. Retired soldiers returned to service. The entire human species was mobilizing for war, transforming their civilization into a single massive weapon, and they were doing it with enthusiasm. Reports came in from human space, civilians volunteering by the millions, factories running around the clock, scientists developing new weapons at incredible speed. The humans were not just fighting this war, they were enjoying it. Zathoran finally began to understand what the Vasari ambassador had tried to tell him. Humanity was not a species that fought to survive. Humanity was a species that lived to fight, and he had just given them the greatest enemy they had ever faced. 8 months into the war, the Vasari ambassador came to the Valkyrie homeworld. Her ship was ancient, older than most species in the galaxy. It passed through every security checkpoint without stopping, ignored every challenge, and landed in the capital city like it owned the place. The Valkyrie were furious, but they could not stop her. The Vasari were too old, too powerful, and too mysterious to challenge. High Arbiter Zathoran received her in his throne room. He did not offer her a seat. Ambassador Kethra, he said coldly, "You come uninvited to my world. I assume you have a reason." The Vasari ambassador looked at him with her many eyes. She was so old that her body could no longer support itself, and she floated in a hover chair surrounded by life support equipment. But her mind was still sharp, and her words were carefully chosen. "I am here to warn you, Arbiter. Though I fear it may already be too late. Warn me." Zathoran laughed, but there was no humor in it. "About what? The humans? We are winning this war, are you?" The question hung in the air. Zathoran's crystal body flickered with anger. "We have conquered 17 of their worlds. We have killed millions of their soldiers. You have conquered 17 worlds?" Kethra interrupted. "And in doing so, you have lost 43 battle groups. You have spent resources faster than you can replace them. Your population is growing tired of a war that was supposed to be easy. Your economy is straining. Your allies are questioning your leadership." She leaned forward in her chair. "Tell me, Arbiter, in these 8 months, how many of your worlds have the humans invaded?" Zathoran was silent. "The answer is none." Kethra continued. "They have not taken a single Valkyrie world. They have not even tried. Do you understand what this means? It means they are cowards. They hide and strike from shadows. No, Arbiter. It means they are not interested in conquest. They are interested in destruction." The old ambassador's voice grew heavy with sadness. "The humans have a concept that does not exist in most galactic languages. They call it total war. It means a war fought without limits, without mercy, without any goal except the complete annihilation of the enemy's ability to fight. Zethoran shifted uncomfortably. All species fight to win. Most species fight until the cost becomes too great. Then they negotiate. They trade territory for peace. They accept defeat and move on. Humans do not do this. Kethra's many eyes fixed on him. Humans fight until one side ceases to exist. Then we will make them cease to exist. Many have tried, Arbiter. 26 species in our recorded history have declared war on humanity. Would you like to know how many of those species still exist? Zethoran did not answer, but his crystal body had stopped glowing. 3. And those 3 only survived because they surrendered unconditionally. Within the first month of the war, they gave the humans everything they demanded, immediately and without negotiation. They understood what they were facing and chose survival over pride. She paused. You are in month 8, Arbiter. You are far beyond that point. What are you saying? I am saying that you need to end this war. Today, right now. Send a message to the humans and accept whatever terms they offer. Do not negotiate. Do not bargain. Just accept. Zethoran's body flared with outrage. You ask me to surrender? To these primitives? The Velkhari Dominion has never lost a war in 12,000 years. And that is precisely why you will lose this one. Kethra's voice was gentle, almost pitying. You do not know how to lose, Arbiter. You do not know how to retreat, how to accept defeat, how to cut your losses. These are skills that humans have practiced for 100,000 years. They have lost wars, been conquered, risen again. They have survived extinctions and disasters that would have destroyed any other species. She turned her chair toward the door. The Velkhari have never faced true adversity. You have always been the strongest, the most numerous, the most advanced. You have never had to learn resilience. And now you face an enemy for whom resilience is a way of life. She stopped at the door. Contact them, Arbiter. Whatever they want, give it to them. Before they decide that negotiation is no longer worth their time. And if I refuse? Kethra looked back at him with something that might have been sorrow. Then the Velkhari Dominion will become the 27th species to learn what happens when you push humanity too far. And like most of the others, you will not survive the lesson. She left. Zethoran stood alone in his throne room for a long time. He thought about what she had said. He thought about the war, about the losses, about the strange and terrible enemy he had awakened. And then he pushed it all aside. He was the High Arbiter of the Velkhari Dominion. His species had ruled this region of space for 12,000 years. They had crushed every enemy, conquered every challenge, survived every crisis. They would survive this too. He would not surrender. He would not show weakness. He would pour every resource the Dominion had into this war and crush these humans, like he had crushed so many species before them. He sent orders to his generals, full mobilization, total commitment, no retreat, no surrender. 3 weeks later, human ships appeared in the Velkhari home system. There were over 10,000 of them. Zethoran stood at his palace window and watched them arrive. They filled the sky, blocking out the stars. An armada larger than anything the Dominion had ever faced. They did not fire. They did not send messages. They simply surrounded his world and waited. For 3 days, nothing happened. The humans just sat there, silent, patient. Zethoran's remaining fleets tried to break through. They were destroyed with mechanical precision. No wasted shots, no emotion. Then the humans went back to waiting. On the 4th day, a single human ship broke from the armada and approached the orbital palace. It requested permission to dock. Zeth single quotes Aran granted it. He had no other choice. The Vasari ambassador had been right. He had pushed too far, waited too long, and now he was going to learn exactly what that meant. The human ship docked with his palace, and Admiral Helena Vasquez stepped out. She came alone, unarmed, completely unafraid, and Zethoran understood, at last, that he had lost. Admiral Helena Vasquez walked through the corridors of the Velkhari orbital palace like she owned it. Her boots echoed on the crystal floors. Her gray uniform was simple, without decoration, but she wore it like armor. Behind her, 10,000 human warships waited in silence. She was alone. She carried no weapon, and she was absolutely not afraid. Velkhari guards lined every wall, their weapons pointed at her. She ignored them. They were not going to shoot her. They knew it. And she knew it. The war was over. The only question was what came next. The doors to the throne room opened, and she walked in. High Arbiter Zethoran sat on his crystal throne. He looked smaller than she had expected. His body had lost its glow, and there were cracks in his crystalline form that had not been there 8 months ago. The war had taken everything from him. "Admiral Vasquez," he said. His voice was tired. "You have come to accept my surrender." "No, Arbiter." She stopped a few meters from his throne. "I have come to give you your terms. There will be no negotiation." "There will not." Zethoran nodded slowly. He had expected this. The Thessari ambassador had warned him, and he had not listened. Now he would pay the price. "Then speak," he said. "Tell me what humanity demands." Vasquez pulled a small device from her pocket and activated it. A holographic document appeared in the air between them. "The Valkyrie Dominion will be dissolved immediately. All conquered species will be freed and given full independence. Your military will be reduced to a defensive force only, 1/10 its current size. Your shipyards will be dismantled or converted to civilian use." Zethoran's crystal body flickered with pain, but he said nothing. "Reparations will be paid to every species you have conquered in the last 1,000 years. This will continue for 100 of your cycles. The amount will be determined by a council that includes human representatives." "You are destroying us." "No," Vasquez said calmly. "We are saving you. From yourselves." She stepped closer to the throne. "You made a mistake, Arbiter. A common one. You looked at humanity and saw a young species. Small fleet. Few colonies. Short lifespans. You saw our history of internal conflict and thought it made us weak. You were wrong." Her voice grew harder. "We fight among ourselves because fighting is in our nature. It is in our blood, our bones, our very souls. Every human child grows up hearing stories of war. We learn strategy as games. We debate the great battles of history for fun. We have been perfecting the art of killing for 100,000 years." She leaned in close enough to see the cracks in his crystal face, "and then you came along and gave us a common enemy." Zethoran closed his eyes. "We underestimated you. You did. And now you will pay the price." Vasquez straightened up. "But the price is not your destruction. We could destroy you. We have the power. After what you did to our colonies, many of my people would enjoy watching your worlds burn." She paused. "But that is not what we want." Zethoran looked up, surprised. "What do you want?" "We want peace. Real peace, not the kind that comes from fear or domination. We want to trade with the galaxy, explore with the galaxy, grow with the galaxy. We did not seek this war. You brought it to us." She gestured at the document floating in the air. "These terms are harsh, but they are not cruel. Your species will survive. Your culture will survive. Your people will live. You will simply no longer be able to threaten anyone else. And if we refuse?" Vasquez smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "Then we will continue this war until there is nothing left of the Dominion but dust and bad memories. It is your choice, Arbiter. Survival or annihilation. There is no middle ground." Zethoran looked at the terms for a long time. He thought about his people, his empire, his 12,000 years of glory. All of it gone, erased by a species that had barely learned to travel between stars, but they would survive. He reached out and touched the document. "I accept your terms." Vasquez nodded. "A wise choice." She turned to leave, then stopped. She looked back at the guards lining the walls, at the broken Arbiter on his throne, at the remains of an empire that had once ruled half the galaxy. "Let me give you some advice, Arbiter. Pass it on to your people, and to every species in this galaxy who might be thinking of challenging humanity." She walked to the door, then turned one last time. "We do not seek conquest. We do not want war. We are happy to trade with you, to work with you, to protect you if you ask. We can be the greatest allies you have ever known." Her eyes grew cold. "But if anyone ever threatens our people again, remember what happened here. Remember that we could have destroyed you. Remember that we chose mercy. And remember that next time, we might not be so generous." She walked out of the throne room and did not look back. 1 week later, the Treaty of Earth was signed. The Valkyrie Dominion officially ceased to exist. 47 species that had lived under their rule were freed. The largest empire in galactic history ended with a signature on a document, and humanity took its place on the Galactic Council, not as a minor power, not as a newcomer to be watched and managed, but as a permanent member with full authority. The other species accepted this without argument. They had seen what humans could do. They had no desire to learn more. In the years that followed, the galaxy changed. Species that had spent centuries in fear began to trade freely. Wars that had seemed eternal simply stopped. The humans were everywhere, building, exploring, connecting. They brought medicine to plague worlds and technology to struggling colonies. They were generous, friendly, eager to help, but they were also always watching. And when conflicts arose, when species began to threaten each other, when old hatreds started to surface, there was always a human diplomat ready with a reminder, a gentle reminder, a reminder of what had happened to the Valkyrie. The message spread across every star, to every world, to every species that had ever looked at the stars and wondered what was out there. Humanity was not the oldest species, not the most numerous, not the most advanced, but they were, without question, the most dangerous. And they were watching. On Earth, Admiral Helena Vasquez retired to a small house by the sea. She spent her days fishing, reading, and watching the waves. Sometimes reporters came to ask her about the war, about the victory, about what it meant for humanity's future. She always gave them the same answer. We did not want that war. We never wanted any war. But when someone threatens our home, our families, our people, we do whatever it takes to protect them. That is who we are. That is who we have always been. She would look out at the ocean, old and tired, but still proud. We are humanity. We survive. We fight. We win. And across the galaxy, 100 species remembered those words and were very, very careful.